Well, welcome to the Three Corners Capital Educational Series. I'm Chris Flores, and along with me is my partner, Steve Fortin. And together we lead Three Corners Capital, a firm that is proud to engage with our clients around concepts that are beyond just money and wealth management. And today joining us is Kit Brunner, who is the founder of Queen City Impact. And we're going to dive into charitable planning conversations. And one of the reasons why we are kicking off the year with this discussion is we are continuing to see a trend in our clients around evaluating money beyond just meeting basic retirement needs. We're seeing a lot of clients who are retired realizing that what they've saved is actually more than enough, and that's causing them to think about their own living differently, how they want to engage with their family, and also philanthropy. And we like to say internally, your money can go three places when you die. It can go to your family, it can go to charity, or it can go to the government. And you get to choose your conversation or choose the allocation. But the reality is the only way to disinherit the government is to incorporate charity as a part of your planning. So we're really excited to have Kit with us today. So Kit, I just want to kick things off with just hearing a little bit more about you and how you got into the work of philanthropy and ultimately, why you started Queen City Impact.
Thanks, Chris and Steve. It's a pleasure to be here. It is a bit of a long story, but the short end of it is I've always enjoyed helping people. And before I started Queen City Impact, I had a really fulfilling and diverse 10 years working in a lot of different types of nonprofits. I moved back to Cincinnati in 2020 with my wife after transitioning from international political advising to working as a fundraiser for family homelessness. And after a couple of years, I saw an opportunity to really deepen the relationship that families can have with their philanthropy. So I founded Queen City Impact in 2023 to help families decide what they want to do and how to make the biggest impact. And so QCI provides philanthropic advising and family governance services. We work with families to help them see wealth as an opportunity, a tool for clarifying their purpose, and a story for helping narrating the impact of their life. And as a professional advisor now, my strength is above the line planning. I synthesize my clients' family legacy and steward their philanthropic passions and help them be more of a change maker in the communities and areas of interest that they have. And I serve as their ambassador in the community.
Wow, that's great, kid. One of the things that we like to tell clients is, we practice what we preach, and we think that sets us apart in many ways. So, how have you and your family been engaged in giving back?
Thanks, Steve. So for both my wife Liz and I, our exposure to philanthropy started young, and we really learned how to enjoy sharing our time and helping others at a young age. Uh, my wife's father was a disabled veteran and worked for the disabled American veterans for almost 40 years. And myself working as a Boy Scout, doing service projects, church volunteering, giving our time and helping others always was ingrained early in our childhood. And so that is something that we really took to heart in terms of when we started our own family. And so I currently now serve on the board of the Ken Anderson Alliance and on the Fatherhood Committee. And we're intentional about contributing 10% of our income into the causes that we care about. In addition to that, we show up for the people and the issues that are close to us. And since Bash has been born, he comes to us to as much family volunteer events as we can. Whether I'm an elf at the Winter Wonderland House at Bethany House, or I'm doing coat drives at St. Vincent de Paul, or going to concerts that KA hosts. Having an integrated kind of family experience with our giving has always been something that's important to us.
That's
Yeah,
that's awesome. It's something that I know I've experienced personally, but I've actually thought about like writing this book, like something to the effect of like the real secret of money or something like that, because I think Steve can attest. Um, the people that we work with and have come across in helping with financial planning, those that think beyond themselves, people who kind of, there's a kind of the idea of like hands open versus hands clenched, and the people that kind of live a little bit more hands open tend to be, they're nicer. They tend to be good people. Not that our clients are bad, like any of our clients are bad, but they tend to be, people that, are others focused. They're considerate. There's just a person, but they also tend to be people who also just look at their money a little bit differently and have a little bit more peace. And So it's great hearing, some of what you've experienced there. And, you and I were both young dads. My girls are about to turn 9 and 5. I'm curious, any tips that you have? You've been in fundraising for a while and you've been doing some things in your own family. Any tips for young families or even grandparents with little ones to engage them in this concept of generosity or philanthropy?
So this is a great question. I'm always happy to talk about this with as many people as I can, um, because I really do believe it starts as early as it can. And as a young parent, my son just turned 3, and we're expecting our second in September. And just the earliest parenting lesson that's been most true to me is your children are watching you more than they listen to you.
Mhm.
And one stat that really comes out to me a lot in this work of advising families on their philanthropy is 88% of affluent individuals, in that millennial kind of age bracket, have the same commitment to giving back as their parents do, but 20% say that they're going to take the same approach. And so there really is that kind of shared interest of doing it, but they would like to do it in a different way. And so I think there is a lot of opportunities, especially in Cincinnati, to really kind of help integrate your family into your philanthropy, whether that's serving meals together at a sort of organization. Doing a last mile food rescue with your kids in the car is also a great opportunity to really kind of demonstrate, kind of the need of food and food insecurity without kind of having to be too much of a labor intensive kind of effort. But again, I'm always an advocate of it's never too early to help your children absorb the values and areas of passion that you have, and that can start at the kitchen table.
Yeah, definitely. So, Kit, I mean, I imagine you tend to work with, high net worth or even ultra high net worth clients. What are some giving trends that you're seeing recently?
I think that I would say over the last couple of years, there really has been a shift. I would say away from anonymous gifts, but I would say more donors that would do anonymous gifts are understanding the value of sharing, their why about share with more of their network about why they're making this gift. To help that be a leverage and kind of a force multiplier for others that maybe can have a similar feeling with that. And so it's, kind of traditionally, the anonymity around gifts is that we don't want to be put on lists, we don't want to be hit up, and there is still that tension there, and that's part of what I do with my clients. I can be a buffer for that. But I think there's also something about, when there is a major, kind of campaign with an organization that's really close to you, sharing that story is something I think is a lot more willing for donors right now. And then the second one would be I think there's a lot more trust in multi-year and major gifts from high net worth donors, and really kind of have an appreciation for how these donors can be, kind of investors and real partners and kind of catalytic change in the community.
Hmm, interesting. So, what are like one or two practical items that our clients could start, to establish to take their philanthropic planning to the next level, so to speak?
Yeah, so I think one that's kind of more of a lower effort, a good place to start would be to kind of leverage your annual giving with sharing your time and talents. And that's, joining a committee or a board. There is kind of always hesitations around, kind of how much time it's going to be. But I think, those committees are a good entry level, and it's a good way to kind of really give an inside look at the organization that you're also financially kind of contributing to. And another one would be hosting a Jeffersonian dinner, inviting 10 of your friends over to your house, having it catered or whatnot, and really kind of sharing with them, kind of why you support this organization. Have the director there, their marketing or fundraiser there as well. It's not a fundraising effort. It's all about, kind of sharing, knowledge and advocacy, and it helps take that lift off. But it's really a great way that helps the organization broaden their network base. And another item I think as well that I, kind of help families with is looking at 2 to 3 organizations that really move the needle for you, that you have a lot of trust in, that you value their impact and have admiration for, and reach out to those executive directors and ask for a meeting about what keeps them up at night and about how you can help maybe mitigate some of that kind of challenges that they're going through.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, you mentioned the dinners. I think, something I think we can all kind of observe as we become a little bit more insular, right, in our communities. We have maybe some close friends or family but a lot of people don't know their neighbors. We don't help each
Mhm.
other the same way that we've helped each other in the past, or bartering or borrowing some sugar and trading it for an egg, and and things like that. Um, and it just reminds me this idea of a dinner. It's like there's something really powerful about community, inviting people into your home,
Mhm.
sharing the things that are passionate. And I know for me, like that's something that we're trying to do more of, not to proselytize something
Right.
that we're
No.
passionate about, but it's amazing. I had a coffee this morning and was talking about this with someone, and that for as big as our community, we're here in Cincinnati, we have clients all over the country, and really whether it's Cincinnati or our clients in other cities, like cities can be really small. Like you can know each other, you can get to know people pretty well.
Sure.
And at the same time, they're very big. And so people doing similar things, you may not even remotely, come across. So I think those ideas of trying to engage just your neighbors and the people that you know into what you're passionate
Mhm.
about is huge. One of the things that also stood out is you mentioned the 88% number of
Yeah.
younger, more affluent clients, which is a demographic that we serve. It's a really interesting um, area. I was mentioning trends we're seeing in our client base in terms of our retiring clients or retired clients recognizing, wow, like I have more than I need. What do I
Mm.
do? What does that mean? We're also seeing that impact the younger, base of our clients, where we're seeing families call it accelerated inheritance, and pay off a
Yeah.
house,
Right.
because housing is
Mhm.
expensive, and it's kind of one of the ways that, people can do that. And so we're seeing young people, even if they're not super high incomes, but all of a sudden you don't have a mortgage, how that you can view your cash flow and your savings. So we're seeing all these dynamics change. But one of the things that I still think is unique is this idea of charitable planning.
Yeah.
There's a lot of studies out there that I've seen that like clients want to talk about it, but advisors, for whatever reason, I won't go on my
Oh,
my rant on it, but advisors think they provide it, but they really don't. So I kind of wanted to transition a little bit more like into your role in QCI,
yeah.
and what part of our job is to bring experts for our clients. There are things that we're good at, but sometimes a third party is also an appropriate role where we can kind of step away, sit at the same side of the table as the client, and let another professional guide a conversation. And I'm just curious, you know what does that look like for you in terms of the milestones or the times where someone's going to think, hey, yeah, I do want to take my charitable discussions with my advisory team, which would be Three Corners Capital in this case, a little bit further, but where they would say, yeah, I also see the value of saying, hey, Steve, Chris, looks like maybe we need some. It would be good to have some facilitation as well. So tell me a little bit more about when clients consider engaging with someone like you, and maybe some of the common steps that you take to guide people into what's next for their giving.
No, thanks, Chris, for that. And I'm sure we're kind of referencing and thinking about the same stats of how, kind of it actually does make clients more loyal when advisors talk about charitable planning and kind of get into more of the philanthropic and family nuts and bolts, so to speak. But to answer your question in terms of like milestones, and I'm sure as you both know, philanthropy is really personal and it involves a lot of complex human elements. And so I think more of less than, kind of a financial milestone. The clients that have really reached out to me that I've, engaged more deeper relationships with in the last 2 years haven't really shared a significant, financial number, but more of they've been in a major life transition. Whether it's they're beginning to sell a business, they've retired as a corporate executive after 30 plus years. They've gone through a significant family event, and they really are interested in seeing how philanthropy can deepen, kind of the impact that they're having. And so that is where I, kind of have a lot of clients on that philanthropic spectrum, ranging from early stage to generational givers. And my value is helping each of them kind of find trust, purpose, and opportunities to deepen, their impact and enjoy their success. It looks very different in a lot of different ways, and that is part of. I work best when I work with others as well. When as a specialist, that I can work with other kind of high performing specialists to really kind of get into delivering for the client in a very unique way.
That's great. Well, Kit, I am grateful that you are taking some time and have taken time with us today. I guess I would just leave before we sign off and is just any kind of closing thought or anything that you would like to leave our clients and guests with?
Well, I would say that I think there always is an opportunity to answer questions. And I think kind of it is just more of finding people that you can ask those questions to. And then there is ways to get answers and there is ways to build trust and do the things that you might be thinking about. It just starts with asking those questions first.
Mhm. Yeah, thanks so much, Kit. This has been great.
I appreciate it. It's great talking with you both.
Thank you much, Kit.
Take
Bye.
care.
See you.